This podcast is being recorded on Ghana land. We honour and celebrate the strong cultural traditions of motherhood, family and connection to country.
How Motherhood Changed Me is brought to you by Harrison Macmillan, Australia's leading recruitment firm run by women who live by values that make their mothers proud.
No woman can say motherhood hasn't changed her, but every mother's story is different.
It must have been for about 4 weeks of just shame. I was just trying to figure it out myself, how I wanted, I've been transitioning for years, but then doing this, people are gonna think I'm an absolute nutter. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be a female? Do you not want to be a female? I had women constantly saying that I'm taking away women's rights. I had some women saying that it's absolutely amazing. So I didn't know. I didn't know if it. I don't know. I was scared of offending women in general. And like the thing is that I've lived as a female, and it's hard work being a female. It's there's everything that women go through, and like I completely understand that. I've lived as a woman, so it's not like I'm taking away women's rights or I don't appreciate women. It just so happened that I fell pregnant.
This is How Motherhood Changed Me. Hello, I'm Kerry Turner.
And I'm Jenna Yates. Kez, a very different chat today, and we have Instagram to thank for connecting us with this person.
We do.
If you ever want a guest on the pod, I'd be totally down, was the DM we got a couple of months ago. And Kez, we both instantly knew that this was a chat that we wanted to make happen.
Yeah, we did.
A writer, a children's support worker, and a transgender male who has absolutely smashed the status quo of gender stereotypes by unexpectedly falling pregnant and having a baby.
Yay!
All the way from Manchester in the UK, Logan Brown, thank you so much for having a chat with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I thought it'd be nice. I've watched a few of the episodes that you've done, and I love how you talk about parenthood. And very excited to be.
Oh, we have a fan in Manchester.
Yes.
Well, we've been following you on social media, and we love what you do too. So this is a mutual.
It's a big love fest.
Love
for
fest.
us. Yeah. Now, Logan, before we have a chat, can you give us one word to describe the person that you were before you had your baby?
Oh my God. I'm going to say longing, as in longing for something. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
I like that.
Something was
Kind of
missing for you.
longing. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got so much to cover here, but
Yes.
let's sort of, carry that
And is that
longing
Theme.
theme.
Yeah.
Can we ask you about your childhood and how everything was for you growing up?
Yeah, growing up, I was always like a bit of an attention seeker, to be honest. I have ADHD as well, so I was always like, when I look back on the videotapes, I was always like trying to get in the camera, like very excited all the time. But I did feel like there was always something wrong with me constantly, and I couldn't figure out what that was. And like even from early ages, I had a really, really close family. My family are absolutely amazing. But even from early ages, I always had like mental health issues. But like a bit back then when we still didn't really talk about it, it was just kind of getting a little bit better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was always in like therapy and things like that. And I lost a lot of family members. My granddad got killed, and I think that all played with it. But like who I was inside, I remember when I was younger, and I'd do things like dress how a boy is supposed to be, whatever that means, and like bind down my chest with a scarf, and then I'd go like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then just things like that kept happening, and I just always felt like this deep sadness deep down, even though I was always a really, really happy kid. But I had a really good support network around me, and I was class clown in school, but there was always just that sadness inside, and it was definitely to do with my gender and being born in the wrong body.
What did people around you have to say when you'd bind your chest? Was it something that was noticed?
When I was younger,
Yeah.
I would literally do it in the mirror, but I wouldn't understand the purpose of why I was doing it.
Right.
It was kind of, I know, I don't know, I can't even explain what that feeling was like, but I would do it, and then like as soon as I realised that I do it, I'd be like, oh, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like it was like really scary, and then as I became a teenager, I hated having a chest. I hated having boobs.
Yeah.
Was it boobs? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when I turned to about 20, 21, because I came out as lesbian when I was 13, because everyone kept saying to me, "Oh, you dress a certain way, you must be a lesbian," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But gender and sexuality are two completely different things, which I
course.
think is like misunderstood sometimes.
Yes.
And then and then when I turned about 21, I was like, "Oh, there's something more to me with this." And it took me ages and ages. I literally went to, I've said this before and other stuff, but I went to the doctor and I was like, "I don't want my boobs." And like, can you imagine like just a female coming into the doctor and be like, "Can you just get rid of my boobs?" Like,
Yeah.
and my doctor was like, "Why don't you just wear a proper bra?" And I was like, "Oh my God, she doesn't understand what I mean." And I just started crying and I was like, "Why do I feel like this?" And then it was just like spiraling. I was like, "Oh my God." I met like everything that, like I kept getting flashbacks of everything in the past. And I was like, I think I'm male. Like I feel male. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It
was really weird.
sounds like you were trying to piece it together and you were almost
Yeah.
like
Navigate
reaching
it,
out for
yeah.
someone to say, something's not right. Like, I'm trying to work it out.
Yeah. I feel like all them years, and like I used to get taken out of school to have therapy as well and like miss classes and stuff. And I feel like if someone could have just like seen kind of through what was kind of going on and encouraged me to like, but it's hard to do, isn't it? I feel like that would have helped a lot. And when I came out to my mum, I wrote a letter saying, basically, I don't want boobs, but I don't. I think so I was embarrassed. I was like, but I don't want to be a boy, but I do want to be a boy. She was like really confused. She was like, what? She was like, okay, that's fine. She was really confused. And then the day came, and I was like, I'm transitioning to male, and she was like, what? I didn't see any of the signs. You used to have long hair and try and wear makeup in school, and I was like,
I
well,
wrote you a
trying to
letter.
I was trying to work it out. Yeah. Oh, because I mean, thinking and listening to what you're saying, I mean, obviously it's not a choice that you made. It's how you were born, but you're
Yeah.
grappling with it and you're trying
Yeah.
and also with the pressure of your family and wanting everybody to love you and accept you. It's confusing and it's hard
It's a lot to process
Totally.
at any age, I imagine, but for someone so young.
And also back
To be-
then too,
yeah.
who knows what role models you had
Yeah.
and
Mm.
to even
Yeah.
understand, I can appreciate that you didn't want to disappoint people, I suppose.
I think that's the main thing that most queer people face is like what other people think constantly. And that was the main thing. It was like, oh, what is everyone else going to think? Not what I thought or how I felt. And I used to hate myself for thinking them thoughts. Like I used to really, really, truly hate myself for thinking them thoughts. Like I thought I was the worst person ever for thinking that. How is it possible for me to want to like transition? How is that possible? And then once I did it, yeah, just like a weight off my shoulders.
So
Once
transitioning for you looked
adult,
like what, Logan?
well, it was just happiness. Like even at the start of the transition, I was like, oh, is this right? Because if you think about it, you've been in this body for so long, you've been called a certain name for so long, the name that your parents have given you as well, which is another thing that my mum's recently spoke to me about, saying if your daughter wanted to change your name, how would you feel? And I was like, oh my God, I spent ages trying to choose that name. Like I totally understand now that it can be a
Oh,
lot.
Yeah.
well, that's an
Yeah.
interesting thing. We need to chat about that a little bit later because I want to get into your relationship with your partner, Bailey. If you
Yeah.
can tell us a little bit about that, but also the fact that pregnancy wasn't part of the plan,
Wasn't on the
Logan.
cards. Mm.
No, oh my God. I work with kids, obviously. I work with teenagers. And I always feel like I've been good with children and, but then like to have my own, I always used to say, what did he say to me? Like, don't breed, adopt, something like a funny thing. Like, don't make more. Sorry, that was quite probably the wrong thing to say. Don't make more when there's kids out there.
That need a home.
Need a home, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
when
we
there's kids
get
out
you.
there that need like I'd go to work and look after kids and then that was that. I never like our lifestyle was very obviously Bailey's a drag queen and we go around traveling and partying and all that sort of stuff and like just didn't want kids ever really. I didn't see it as an option. Bailey wanted kids more than me. And then and we was together for a year when I found out that I was pregnant as well.
Wow. How can you take us back to that moment when you found out? How do you then tell Bailey? We're having a baby.
Mm. Well, initially, and I still regret this sometimes, but I think because of my transition, the first person who I spoke to was my mum, because she supported me so much, and I was like, like
Oh,
I
I
didn't.
love
I know
that.
that Bailey didn't, but like that, that's my mum as well, and like she knows me. She knows she's known me from my transition and stuff, and I was just scared. I was like, what the heck? Well, my mum was absolutely chuffed. She was like, but she just sent me this picture back, like frozen.
Gonna
I
be
don't
a
believe
granny.
always. She never thought that she would have grandkids, because my other sibling is non-binary and has also had chest surgery, and then my younger sibling is just straight. So, but we've always had, like, we've all been a bit quirky, and
Yeah.
So I went up and told Bailey. I was hovering around for ages. Or I was hovering around for ages. Like, how on earth do you tell someone? How do I tell you this? Like, you see me as male, and I don't know. I felt like I was going to ruin Bailey's life. But I was like, do you want a brew? Do you want a brew? Right, let's have brew and biscuit. Let's sit down. And then when I told Bales, it went from like Bales' face just like froze, and Bales was like they thought it was amazing at first, and we was like, oh my god, no. Oh, what we're gonna do? Oh
Processing.
yeah, oh my, amazing. Oh no, what we're gonna do? What about my career? What are people gonna think? It was just immediately, what are people gonna think? There was always this thing in the back of my mind, even though I was actually pretty happy. Like, I could, like the fact that I'd be able to have my own children, because I never thought that would happen. I can't believe that I actually felt like that, because I never wanted kids. Like, when I went on, sorry, I'm talking a lot now, but when I went on having the gender sessions to get diagnosed with gender dysphoria, they actually ask you before you go on testosterone, do you want to freeze your eggs? Because when you go on testosterone, the chances are that you might not be able to, like, get your periods back and stuff like that, or even have your own kids. So I just thought, I immediately I said, no, I don't want kids. And yeah, and then my periods came back, and then
Okay.
ended up falling.
Can you explain that for me? And I hope I don't sound insensitive, but you were taking testosterone that would
Yeah.
shut off your cycle, wouldn't it? Like, how did that even happen, Logan?
So I started testosterone when I was 21, and I was on it for years. Everything was fine. And then when you're on testosterone, you have to have like regular blood tests and stuff to make sure that the levels are all okay. And then there was like this one year where I think I had something wrong with like my liver, or something wasn't right, so they wanted to take me off it. I slowly went off it. The doses went down, and then I went off it for a bit to like kind of make everything a bit more balanced again. And then my periods came back.
Wow.
So then I was like, something was happening. I can't even remember really now. Something was happening with the gender clinic, and obviously you probably won't know this, but on the gender clinic and stuff, and on the NHS over here, it's really hard to try and get to be transgender. It is really hard. There's such a long waiting list. So yeah, so then I was off testosterone for a while. My periods came back, and then I went back on testosterone. I was absolutely buzzing. And my periods just didn't stop. They just continued, which was weird, because when I first took testosterone, it went immediately, but they just stayed. It was really weird. And every trans person is different. So, it might take a few years for them to stop, but yeah, it just stayed. And so yeah.
What about the pregnancy itself, Logan? Can you talk us through what that experience was like for you?
I think at the start, obviously, it was just like really, really scary. I mean, it's scary for anyone.
It is.
I honestly cannot believe that people go through this. It's one of the hardest. It's one of the hardest things ever. Like, it's so underestimated. And that's what I was like. I was like, oh my god, my mum's done this 3 times. The sick. What on earth was that about? I was just being sick all the time. And then I kind of like, we didn't tell anyone until I was 12 weeks, and Bailey put a post out. And then everyone found out, and I think everyone was like, okay, but how has this happened? People didn't understand. People were like trying to figure out. And I think since then we got like, everyone was happy for us, and that helped me with confidence of feeling like, oh, okay, the queer community has kind of got our back, or whatever. And yeah, and then I started getting confident and started writing about it. But pregnancy in general, I think that gender dysphoria wise, there was moments where I struggled with it, of obviously, because in my head it was a very female thing to do. It's what women do. But in general, I just thought to myself, no, I identify as a man. I'm a trans man.
Yeah.
And I'm pregnant, so I'm a trans pregnant. I'm a pregnant man. And yeah, and I was fine with it. And then I just owned it, and then I felt fine. I was still going to Bailey's gigs. I was like, you know, I'm lucky that I still got to do that, because some people have horrific times. And I remember, like, when I did the Glamour shoot, that was 2 weeks before having that was 2 weeks before having her, and I was massive then. And that was 2 days of shooting.
I found with my pregnancies, Logan, I learnt to appreciate my body in a way I never had before. Did you find that you suddenly didn't care what people were thinking? You owned it. You said just
That's
before
such
you
a good
owned it.
point.
I think because, like, I started to get confidence. I had a lot of online abuse about it, and then the queer community was like, no, you know, this is amazing. And we call them seahorse dads, because seahorse males can give birth. So that was like a thing. And there's so many seahorse dads about. And yeah, I did start to own it. The only thing was like, obviously, because I've had chest surgery, so there's no boobs there or anything.
Yes.
But like, it would look different to how a female would look, because you would it would go like this, and then your belly. This was like flat, and then this big belly. So like, when I'd go out, I'd be like on the bus, and I'd be like, I wonder if that person's thinking, like, has he just got like a proper big bear belly or something? Or
It's funny you say that, Logan. I have the funniest photo of my sister next to my granddad with the big beer belly, and they both, you know, look like
comparing bellies.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Can you also explain seahorse? What you just said there? I haven't heard of that before.
Really?
No, I haven't.
It's the male seahorses who have babies.
Is it?
Yes.
So that's just that's a term that the trans communities
adopted.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
You didn't know that?
Really
No.
Very cool. It's nice to kind of have something as well. Do you know what I mean? To like relate to. There's the first seahorse dad that I ever seen was Freddie McConnell. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he did it on his own without a partner, and he's just amazing. Wow. He has 2 children, and he did a documentary actually called Seahorse, and seahorse males give birth.
Yeah.
So that's what we call it. And there's so many. Honestly, there's so many, and like, I think when the article came out and stuff, people were like, oh my God, this is new. And there was somewhat saying like first ever transgender males. I'm thinking, not like there's so many people before don't talk about it, or, you know.
And that's what I love about your story and the way you share online is, you know, you're part of this, I suppose, education for people to understand. You're really, you're an activist, and you're also helping normalize something that actually is normal.
Yeah, I think so. I think on the way, as I was trying to normalize it for other people, I was still trying to normalize it for myself. Right. Because at the start I was weird, like, what am I doing? I was constantly like that, and even now, like, I look back sometimes, and obviously I won't change a single thing, but I think, oh, like, I've done something really different, and it's good to be different, but sometimes it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Did
you ever watch that TV show Girls? And there's a character in that, and he is transitioning and falls pregnant. And
I don't think I've seen it.
Is very, very, like, this is just one character in one part of
seen it.
A particular season. And this is really, I guess, the only sort of time I've ever seen it in a TV show or anything like that. And it is a show about queer women and men. And anyway, is very upset, of course, because the body isn't what matches. And so I'm sure it's very different for a whole range of people. And your story is really nice because you kind of embraced it, didn't you? And you kind of, it didn't upset you. And maybe it did, I don't know, but it sounds like it didn't. It did?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I think now people see me and like, oh, you've got so much confidence. I really appreciate what you're doing. And there's other trans guys who are like, oh my God, like, like asking questions about it. And it's like at the start, I didn't really have anyone to relate to, or I just felt shame and like what Bailey would think. And it was it must have been for about 4 weeks of just shame. I was just trying to figure it out myself, how I wanted, I've been transitioning for years, but then doing this, people are gonna think I'm an absolute nutter. Like, what do you want? Do you want to be a female? Do you not want to be a female? I had women constantly saying that I'm taking away women's rights. I had some women saying that it's absolutely amazing. So I didn't know. I didn't know if it. I don't know. I was scared of offending women in general. And like the thing is that I've lived as a female, and it's hard work being a female. It's there's everything that women go through, and like I completely understand that. I've lived as a woman, so it's not like I'm taking away women's rights or I don't appreciate women. It just so happened that I fell pregnant. Now, yeah, I own it.
Now, yeah.
Love that. You should be very proud.
Totally.
I think very, very proud of everything in your story, but the way, as Jenna said, the education that comes with your story is incredible.
Because we have come, it seems, like a long way, even in just the last few years. And I want to say terms that we now have heard and know and are used in a medical context: chest feeding, birthing parents. I know in the UK they've adopted language like that in maternity care. I'd love to know what your experience was with that.
Medically.
If you felt safe, if you felt understood.
Supported.
Yeah. I mean, it seems from my perspective that this sort of stuff is becoming more.
It's making big inroads.
And it's thanks to people like yourself, but also, how was it for you?
Yeah. It's hard because like you want to help and you want to, help the hospital, like give them advice on how you want to be treated. But at the same time, there's always that thing where it's like, oh, I'm sick of having to educate people and I should just get the care that, but we got somewhere. And at the start, all my hospital appointments, God, it's bringing back so many memories of like all the, all them appointments that you have when you're pregnant.
Oh my,
not that sort of stuff. Oh my God, I've not spoken about this in ages. But like them little appointments during the pregnancy, like I'd get misgendered. But there was half of me where I was like, I totally understand why this would happen because everyone else here is women and having a baby is what women do. But obviously now I know that not just women do that. But there was moments where I changed hospital as well at one point and it did get a bit better. And there was a moment where I was in the waiting room and like this midwife, she didn't even look at me because she obviously just presumed that I was female. She just started calling me she, blah, blah, blah. I got so upset. Like that's when I was going under. I was heavily pregnant. The emotions are everywhere. I was crying my eyes out. I was like, I can't sit in this waiting room. But because I had more facial hair then as well. Like I can't sit in this waiting room with a bump in front of all these women. Like people were looking at me. I was like, I need my own room. I'm going under. And I just, when you get to the end and you just want the baby to come out.
Oh yeah,
I was sick of going.
We know that feeling well.
And then I had this really nice appointment as it was coming to the end of the pregnancy with this one midwife, and she was just amazing. And like she came in and she just sat down. She was like, right, here are these leaflets. She went, I know about this. Proud to be parent class, birthing for queers, all this sort of thing. And I was like, whoa, wow. Who brought you here? Like she was absolutely amazing. And that is what I needed. And like the LGBTQ plus training courses that the nurses have, it's optional. It's not like mandatory, which I think is a shame.
Yeah.
To be on it because there's people like me and other people that exist and people that probably don't have the confidence that I have that wouldn't like like be the way that I am, like they might be really changed. And so she sat down and she was like, right, we're going to go for your birthing plan, and I had to make it comfortable. I had my own room because I was scared on the ward obviously because of all the abuse that I got online of like quite a few women, and like men were telling me as well, you're being offensive to women. And I was like, okay, you really can't say anything, but so yeah. you like
the hypocrisy of this.
Yeah, men were like speaking for women, and then I was like, but I've got women in my life that are saying that it's an okay thing. I just didn't know where to stand. So I got on the ward, I had my own room. And then in the end, when I was on there, I felt comfortable, and like I ended up like speaking to the women on there and everything. And yeah, but we was in hospital for a week. I got induced, so I was in there for a week, and they tried everything to get Nova out. Basically, it was hard work, as you know. And then ended up having an emergency section. But like during that time in the week that I had, and plus we were doing a documentary of it all. So I think we kind of got a little bit of extra special treatment in there with the more rounds of toast and hot chocolates for Bailey.
Love it.
Bailey was loving it. And yeah, like some of the midwives have never seen someone like me come in, and we had some really good chats, and that's where I started to think, oh, do you know what? They don't know, and they've not met anyone like me, and like they'd come in and say, oh, I googled last night, and I thought, oh,
they're trying.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're trying.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It would be hard as a reflex, just because you, like you say, you're used to it dealing with women, and so it would be like a, you know, even when you're pregnant and you say you don't want to know what gender your baby is, they often default to something, don't they? And then you go, oh, like, is that because it's, I mean, that was my experience anyway. So yeah, I think it's really lovely that you can have a little bit of understanding, I guess. You still have your experience, but you can appreciate, for most people, they're not trying to hurt you or misgender you or get it wrong. It's something to learn, and it's
to get back to that education word, isn't it?
We all know that it takes a village to raise a child, and our friends at Harrison Macmillan know that it also takes a team to build a successful business.
And they're here to help you find the right team members.
Mums understand the value of asking for help, and businesses should too.
Harrison Macmillan specialises in recruiting top talent, so you don't have to go it alone. They have the experience and network to ensure you get the best candidates.
With over 500 clients across Australia, they are well known for their people-centric expertise.
They don't see themselves as just a recruitment agency, but as your strategic talent partner committed to meeting your unique staffing challenges.
And outsourcing to them means you can focus on what you do best.
Visit harrisonmacmillan.com.au to learn more about how they can support your business, just like a village supports a family.
You mentioned some criticism and comments that you've received, and I'm glad to hear that it's online and not to your face. But I wanted to say, we were talking earlier about the chest feeding and the birthing parent, those sorts of terms. And I have seen and I have read some comments, and I've actually even shared some stuff myself online, because it's like, can you actually read beyond the headline? Because they're not coming for your language. They're not trying to take anything away from you. They're not trying to say that you can't call it breasts or that you're a mother. It's about inclusive language for everybody. Read beyond the headline, for goodness sake, but also, I know there's just so much misinformation out there, and I'd love to know, what would you say to anybody listening who might feel like that? We have a chance to potentially make them realise that you're just a person who wants to live your best life.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's a really good thing to bring up, because that was one of the main things, actually, that like when I'd post something, the comments that some people would put is like, oh, and now we're changing the terms chest feeding and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, I don't know, like, and I wouldn't even be speaking about that. I think for me personally, I think it's absolutely amazing to use this inclusive language. The issues that I had was that, like, I was getting misgendered. So like I felt like saying to them, if you just use these terms for me, like just speaking to me, doesn't mean that you have to do it to all the other women, but when you're speaking to me, you know, include me in that language. I don't want to erase women or change, you know, the things that women do. Women are amazing, and having a baby is really hard. It's one of the biggest things ever. But yeah, like you've hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not us wanting to take away women's rights and things like that. It's just feeling like you belong somewhere and being included. Because, you know, if I was in the hospital and I was being misgendered, and like you're saying to me about breastfeeding, well, I don't have breasts, so I can't really relate to that. I have a great group around me of mums who are absolutely amazing, and they all breastfeed and we have some really interesting conversations because I obviously had chest surgery, but everyone kept saying to me before having the baby, "Oh, so you'll be able to breastfeed?" And I was like, "Don't be daft," because
they're gone.
it's still there. But then when I had Nova afterwards, my chest started to feel really, really tender, and I was like, "What?" And I had a fever, and then the nurse was like, "This is what I mean." The nurse came back in the midwife. She's like, "I was having to think about you last night. I was thinking why you've got a fever." She was like, "Feel your I felt it, and it was all lumpy. And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Don't touch it. Don't. Sorry, stop touching it. You're going to think it." I was like, "Oh my God." And then I was like, the curious, and I was like, touching it, like it had do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that was possible. And this is the group of women that I'm with. I'm really, really good friends, mums. And we have these conversations, and like, I'm not afraid. And they are so supportive, and they've taught me loads about breastfeeding. I didn't even know, because I mean, I don't know if it's never too much information, but like, I didn't even know certain things, because I was like, they said, "Oh, did you have did you have holes in you?" I was like, I had one, and just a little tiny bit of milk came out, and it was like, "No, there's loads of different holes and it comes out." I was like, "Oh my God, no way." Like, I didn't know that. So I learned loads about breastfeeding, and I just think it's so nice.
I was just going to say, I didn't know that before I became a mum. That wasn't, I didn't know.
So true. So spraying everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that mad. But yeah, I would never want to take away women's rights at all. It is literally just to be more inclusive. Yeah.
It's actually so obvious listening to you. You sound like you've got a lot of women in your life that you adore and that you love and that you cherish, and
you can lean on.
It's really nice to hear that you've got a little bit of a parents group too.
When you're in hospital anyway, like, you have the baby and then you just get left to your own devices, don't you? Like, oh my God, this is terrifying.
What am I doing?
Yeah, I honestly think that when you go into hospital and you have a baby, they should give you a massive leaflet of like, right, there's this baby group, there's this, there's that, and like, just, some more information. You just kind of get left to your own device, and then it's nerve-wracking going to a baby group, and then, like, especially for me, like, I was terrified, like, because initially I found this group called Proud to Be. I always talk about them, and they're LGBTQ plus parent groups. And I thought, right, perfect. I thought, I'm just going to stick to that.
Yeah,
that's going to be my thing. And like, if I'm friends with like straight, it's so weird. If I'm friends with like straight parents, they won't be able to understand them. They might judge me, blah blah blah. But I think that's because of all the hate I received. Anyway, I went to this baby group. I went in there, and after about 5 minutes, I was like, yappa, 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 yappa. Like, but I think at the start, people were thinking, because, like, looking at me and Bailey thinking, how have they had this baby? Or, and then after time, even at the children's centre that I've been going to since Nova she was 5 weeks old when we went to our first baby group. They've now got my book on the children's bookshelf, and like, it's really nice. I love the mums. I think they're great. They're great.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of your little girl, how is she? How is parenthood? How are you finding it?
I think she's always going to make me upset. I think because
then I'll cry. Here we go.
We're talking about it, and I've listened to like your conversations. I've not spoke like this in ages. She's doing really, really well. She's doing really, really well. I can't believe that even at the start. Sorry. Oh my God.
Don't be sorry.
Even at the start that I had any of them doubts. Like, oh, she's just amazing. I can't believe, like, it's one of the hardest things ever, but the joy that like they bring to you, really, like that word what I said before, that longing, that purpose. When I said that I was going through therapy, so when I was younger, I was always looking for something, and as soon as I had it was just, well, for the first week I was like, bloody hell, what's going on here? But like, it was that purpose that I've always been missing, and she's really, she's so funny. I mean, she's gonna be living with us, but she's great. But parenthood is hard work.
It's a ride, isn't it?
What the heck? And oh God, yeah. And I'm only like, she's 15 months now, so like, she's just nearly walking, and I'm like, oh, don't touch it. It's just chaos.
Yeah,
the house is a mess.
Suddenly, the house has to be childproof.
Oh yeah.
I think every parent can appreciate with what you just said, because we've got this insane love and pride, and it's so hard to believe to that you can look at someone and go, I made you. Like, what magic is that? It's just unbelievable.
Yep.
Your little girl, Nova, what a beautiful name, by the way. Earlier on, you mentioned your mum and understanding how she must have felt when you changed the name you were given when you were born, now that you're a parent. And I just wanted to bring that back up again, because that is such an interesting perspective, because there's, even for someone like myself who hasn't transitioned, I can look back and go, God, I was such a bitch to my mum, like when I was a teenager. And now I know, and with hindsight, I can go, you know, I would hate to have my child being like that to me.
Yeah.
But with that perspective and that lens, to have, I guess maybe a little bit, I don't know if sympathy is the right word, but you can understand. And maybe you can elaborate on how you would feel and how you do feel looking at your daughter and just wanting the best for her too, and knowing how the world can be so cruel, and you just look at and you want everything happy for her.
You just want to keep your little people as safe and protected as you can.
I know, I'm scared of that. I'm thinking about all the futures coming, and how like at one point it's going to be out of my hands. But I think the name thing, I just sat there one day and I was thinking about it. And I was thinking, the name Nova, we chose that when I found out I was like 6-7 weeks pregnant, because I found the name and I was like, whether she's a girl or a boy, whatever, that is the name. Like, and we were always calling baby, we were just calling her Nova all the time. And like, that is such a special name. So like, but I was speaking to my mum about it, and we were saying like, if she wanted to change, mum said, well, if Nova wanted to change her name, what would you say about it? And I was like, all right, okay. You've really caught me off guard there. Like, it is a big thing, because, you know, but also I feel like that as parents, like, you have an image of, I think like naturally, how am I trying to say this? We have, how to explain it? We try and create a life for our kids of how we want them to live.
Yes.
But they're going to do their own thing anyway. And obviously I did that. So yeah, and I'm glad that she's been brought up in by a queer couple, because Nova will always know that she can love whoever she wants. She'll always know that she can be whoever she wants to be. You know, like, say for example, obviously if she transitioned or whatever, but who knows? But like, if that ever happened, she would be in safe hands. Like, really, really special, because it would be, even though my family's supportive, they didn't get it at the start, and it was really hard. And you know, it's like for Nova to have parents who could just understand her on a lot of things, or you know, just be like, yeah, if you want to go out today dressed in that, then you just go out dressed like a caterpillar, whatever you do. I don't know. But yeah, I think for my mum now, I totally understand how difficult that must have been. 100%. At the time, I was like, why don't you understand me? I don't get it. Like, let me just be who I am. And I get it, because you have an image set in your head of how your kids are going to be. She thought it was going to be female. She told me that it was like she lost her child. And then I was like, but I'm still me inside. Yeah. That's my, who I am. Yeah. Today. And my mum's the biggest ally ever. She's great. She comes to everything with us. Like, she's rocking around in it. I make t-shirts, queer t-shirts, and she's rocking around in all of them.
So good. Send us a couple. We'll wear them.
Oh, proudly.
Yeah.
And
will do.
And Logan, further to that, I guess, finding out the gender of Nova. Did you guys find out when you were pregnant? And tell me about, I guess, your thoughts there. There's a lot of gender reveals, and I must say, I myself have felt a little gender disappointment, because I always imagined I'd have a daughter. I have 3 boys, and I hope that doesn't sound insensitive. I don't mean it to. I just try to explain my feeling, because like you say, you have an idea in your mind of what your life might look like and what your future might hold. And when it doesn't pan out that way, you are grieving a little bit. You gain so much, but there's a part of you that's like, oh, that was what I thought. I have to let that go now.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's great to bring up. I think like we have that ideology of how female and males are supposed to be. Like I always say this, like we do it naturally. We bring our children up, and even we say things like say, for example, if Nova, like people would say to her, oh, when she grows up, she's going to have this boyfriend, and like that's drilled in straight away then. Well, she might have a girlfriend. So that's drilled in that she's going to be straight, she's going to want boys. And then we have this pink and blue thing, whereas like we feel the need to do pink. Well, I know everything's very beige now at the minute. Everything's very beige. But pink and blue. So we do that from early age, and like I've tried not to do that with Nova. But yeah, I think we found out the gender, but we didn't make it into a big deal. Like we was just having an appointment, and it was optional. It was having a scan, and it was optional. She went, do you want to know? And I said, oh, go on then. And then it's just like, oh, go on then. But there was still a part of me in the back of my head where I was like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be. And then I was like, hang on a minute, you're trying to break them stereotypes. So you do it naturally. And Bailey was honestly absolutely over the moon that we're having a girl, because the thing is that Bailey's now transitioned to female as well. Plot twist.
Wow.
So now, we're basically just a straight family. So yeah.
Oh wow.
So yeah, Bailey was absolutely buzzing to have a girl, because Bailey's always wanted to dress girly and do all them things. Whereas I move away and I was thinking, oh my God, a girl. This is going to happen to her. This is going to happen to her. You know, all them things. Does that make sense?
It does. It absolutely does. I'm curious to know, you found out the gender. Did you keep that just between you and Bailey, or did you tell family, close friends?
We did like a scan photo of, I think it was a big milestone where she was at. So we just put the scan photo on and just said our healthy girl. But then I don't know, like people were like, oh my God, a girl. And then I was like, oh no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But yeah, the thing is that I'm starting to be like, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And what did you say before the gender reveal parties? I personally, this is just my opinion, and I appreciate anyone who does it. But for me, I don't know if I find that quite triggering, I think, because of what I've been through. Because for me, it's just that initial thing of pink and blue. It just really, I find it really triggering.
Even toys, though, are still so very gender stereotyped in the shops. You've got your aisle of cars and superheroes, and then you've got an aisle of Barbie dolls and hairbrushes, and it's still so segregated in the shops.
It really.
And I'll speak to my elder son for a minute. He loved rainbows, you know, had rainbow drawings and loved all the colours. And very quickly, once he started a school setting, it was like, oh, boys don't like rainbows, and you know would
Such
speak.
A shame.
It is, and I really, pushed very hard for him to break that. I don't know if I got through, because we all know how impactful your peers are at that age. But I was like, what about Auntie Cass? What's her favourite colour? He goes, green. And I said, is green a boy's colour or a girl's colour? And he went, oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say boy, but yeah. And I was like, everyone can love every colour. And he was like, oh, okay, right. And yeah, I'm calling those things out because it sucks.
It does.
And I have a friend who really wanted to push back on that, because why do the girls get all the lovely sparkly clothes and like the boys get the ugly bloody monster trucks, and honestly, the clothes are foul. And, just wanting them to have some nice sparkly things and let them, because why does it matter?
Yeah.
It
doesn't matter.
I just always think, oh, sorry, go on.
No, that was all. Just, the kid, if we can't let our kids express themselves, even just with clothes, like it doesn't mean anything.
No, totally. I think it's a wonderful world for them to be able to have both of things. Like Nova, for example, she has like them little cars. She'll go out, like how they start holding on to everything and picking everything up. She'll have a car, and then she'll have something really girly, stereotype girly. And I just look at that and I think, oh, it's a nice balance to have. And like what you just said, I think it's really nice to hear that, because of you saying that you would say to your child, oh, well, that's, it's not a boy or a girl's colour, it's for everyone. Because there is them stereotypes there a lot. Like I go to the supermarket, to the shops, and there is this, it happens all the time. a little young boy would be like, "Oh, I want that toy," and then the parent would be like, "You can't. Why did you want that? That's a girl's toy. Not even that's a girl's toy."
Yep.
And that's like just drilled in straight from a young age. But I was thinking, it's 2024. Like it's just an object. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely right. And I've really noticed. I've got a girl and a boy at home, and their toys end up in each other's rooms,
Right?
And my little boy loves it when the Barbie dream house comes out, and my little girl loves when the Matchbox car track comes out. So they just play with each other's toys. It's not one person's or the other's. It's just family toys.
I love that.
And they just have the best time.
I bought my son a doll when I was, excuse me, pregnant with our second, and I watched him because I really expected him to be quite loving and, oh, mummy's having a baby. He threw it up in the air and watched it smack into the tiles on the floor. And I thought, oh dear.
Okay.
So my experience, I suppose, my boys have really gravitated to boys stuff and to cars and all of that. And I really haven't tried to steer that. And it interests me because it does seem like it's just what they're going for. We'll never know for sure, will we? Because
if you had a little girl in the house,
yeah,
what would the toy situation look like? You just don't know.
You know. And you don't know the influence of maybe the TV show that they're watching, and they're noticing that the little boys are doing that, or
so true.
The boys at childcare or whatever. So you won't know. But my experience, it's been watching them gravitate to those gender stereotypes mostly. So it is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. And I hope people understand that when I say that. Like, I'm just saying that, like, it's good to have a broader aspect of everything, but things just happen naturally as well. Like, you know, that's just the way that it is. And I've even started to notice things like my nephew is completely different to Nova. Like the personalities, the way they are. Like my brother's wife was like, bloody hell, she's a girl. Like she knows exactly what she wants, and I'm like, I know she does. She really does. What she wants. Whereas my nephew's just like a bit more chilled back, and Nova's like very like, you know, bossy.
I can understand that. I have one of those.
Yeah.
What fun we have ahead of us, guys. Can we talk a little bit more about the Glamour UK shoot? You did bring it up before, but actually it is just the most beautiful shot. I hope beautiful is a word I can use, but it really is. And I actually love to know that you only had her 2 weeks later, because I looked like a beach whale. I did not look like that when I was 2 weeks out from having a baby. How was that experience for you, and how did it make you feel, and how was it received?
So they approached me when I was having like the most abuse online, because an online creator like basically started sending me abuse, and like he has a big platform, so then it just blew up. And then, like I said, the queer community, basically I think because of Bailey's job, and you know, people know who Bailey is and things like that through doing drag and videos online. I think if Bailey was just like didn't have a lot of followers and things like that, people wouldn't really see anything to it. But because Bailey put a post up like, this person's being abusive towards my partner, and I was like, oh god, here we go. So it just all blew up. And then Glamour found it, and like basically there was all these articles like of this online creator like saying like how to explain it, that there's been like a huge fight and all this all dramatized stuff. So then Glamour found me, and I remember getting this message, and they were like, we'd love you to, oh god, I remember seeing that message, we'd love you to feature on the front cover of Glamour for our Pride season. I was like, I just read it and I was like, whatever, like that's not true. Why on earth? Because before that they had Paris Hilton, Lily Allen, you know, all these like big names, and then the next one that was going to be the front cover would have been me. And I was like, how does that even work? Like I'm literally no one. And then I was like, yeah, okay. And then as we started having like the meetings and stuff, because it was very, very rushed, and I wasn't actually going to do it because me and Bailey had a different offer for a more smaller magazine. And then they were like, Glamour was like, Anna Wintour's seen your, she's seen you, and she.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she's like one of the big bosses, and she was like, Anna Wintour says that we need to get you on this. Like, she needs you to be doing this. And I was like,
the
oh
devil
my God.
wears Prada.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so Bailey was like, you need to do that. Anna Wintour, and because I'm more chilled back. Like, I knew who she was, but like I didn't understand. And then when like, I told a few people, they were like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Like us just now.
I mean, my reaction's going there because I'm thinking, if Anna knows about you, like
you're on the radar of these big publications.
Yeah, that, but also the people that you can educate. And share your story with. And what a platform.
Honestly, the whole team, like, they were so supportive, and it was just great. It was unbelievable. I did the first shoot that we did on the day was a video interview. I went on my own, and like, because Bailey didn't come with me, and I was like, oh my God, this is the real deal. And then they were like, right, we've got another day of shooting. And because I've always been the one that goes around with Bailey. Everyone knows who Bailey is in the queer community. People stop Bailey in the street and like, that's just the way it is. And I'm just the one carrying the suitcase in the background. So then, like when we went to the shoot, Bailey was like, what the heck? It was honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was all like the amount of people that were there just for this shoot and like all wanted to be there to represent this story. And we had really good chats. And there was 2 photos. I've actually got it behind me. Bailey printed it up, but they painted. I don't know if you've seen the one with the suit.
Yes.
Some people thought that was painted, and that took 5 hours to do.
Wow.
That was by a landscape artist. And so we had like natural photos and stuff like that with the belly out. And then they were like, right, you're going to get painted. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize like everyone was going eating and stuff. And the people were just like feeding me. Lance was like, we haven't got time to eat. We need, I was like, okay, but I'm pregnant. So I was like, eating,
I'm hungry.
Painting. There was 4 people painting me. So it was a lot as well, because obviously of that gender dysphoria, my body being out, because I was fully naked apart from my underwear. Like it was a lot, I have a big belly, and like I'm not overly happy with my body in general. So to have all them people like on me whilst being pregnant was a lot. But then like I started to get a bit of confidence, and so that happened to me before. And then the shoot came out 3 weeks after having Nova. So I'm living in this bubble with Nova, and then it just exploded. But yeah.
Such a good photo. I loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I hope, I hope that word is okay to use, but that's the way I describe it. You look beautiful.
And Logan, you mentioned also earlier about your book being on the shelf.
Yeah.
I love that you have written a book about your experience. I'm such a writer. Jen's a writer. It's our way of expressing us and ourselves. Your book is called In My Daddy's Belly, the story of a transgender dad giving birth. How proud are you of that project?
Oh, I'm really proud. We started on that before Nova was born. So we started on it. I had an idea of how it would feel, and like being a parent, and like what I wanted to give to Nova, and like how I wanted it. The book initially is for Nova, like to look at, and everyone else the bonus. But like I wanted something for her to relate to, because people always ask me, how are you going to explain this to Nova? Well, I'm going to speak to her, and she's going to know. She's going to read the book, which she tries to rip the pages out now, to be fair.
15 months old. That's fairly standard. Yeah.
But yeah, so I am really, really proud, and obviously that came with that just blew up again, and like people weren't happy about it. But on the positive side, there's so many people and trans guys that actually have something to relate to. That someone's done that for a children's book, and also it is a children's book. It's not too much information. Like we wanted to have a balance. We worked really hard on it. We wanted to have a balance of like getting to the point and making the word transgender normal for kids to know about as they grow up, but not too much where it can be a bit
age
confusing or whatever.
Yeah
It's got things in there, like it's got questions of like prompts of like how does love feel for you, and like being accepted and things like that. And then it's got all in the back about a glossary of like what everything means and things like that. And it's for adults as well to be reading to the kids to try and understand as well. It's really good. I'm not being biased, but it's quite good.
I hope we can get it somewhere. Yeah. I'd love that, Logan. Thank you. I on the criticism type of front, and I suppose like anything, there's extremes on either end. And with social media now, there's
keyboard
the world
warriors
open for keyboard warriors and that sort of thing. I suppose also there's been some things that I've seen. There are some trans and queer people who do share some quite controversial views, but like anyone, and I just think it's important to say that that's not representative of the community as a whole. And it's the same with any group of people that we talk about.
Absolutely.
And in particular, something that I've seen, it's just like, there's a brushstroke and it's just like all of those people are like this. And, they're coming after our kids and they're trying to teach our kids things in school. And, there's extremes on either end. And I'm so sad to hear that you've received criticism. How do you handle that? Hopefully the love overspreads the hate, Logan.
I think it does. I think it does. There's a lot of love. It's hard sometimes when you're in that sort of like within the queer community. There's a lot of love, and then you step outside and you're like, oh, actually, everyone isn't like this, and we're in our own little bubble. So there's a queer community that have a lot of support on it. It fizzles out. Like sometimes someone will share it on Twitter or whatever, and the comments are absolutely horrific, but not just about me, about Nova. And that's where I draw the line, where I'm like, I get really, as anyone would.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Like they talk about her and it's just horrific. I think, how can anyone? But it's made me think, like, when you write something on social media, if you used to comment on anything, people think that you're not going to see it. Like, I see everything, but I just don't react to it. And to be honest, I couldn't go through all the messages on Twitter and things like that. But we had like people like, it was like this group, like this cult, like, oh, let's try and find their address. And that's scary. Like, do you know what I mean? That is really, really scary. Like, and sometimes I do get a bit like, I think I'm very modest and we're just cracking on with normal life. We live in a little town, but I do get freaked out sometimes. Like if we're walking down the street and I think, because someone will just say, oh, I seen your article and blah, blah, blah. And then I think, oh, like, was you talking bad about me, or I don't know, or getting like hate crime or something like that. But how I cope with it in general, I think just being a parent, because sometimes I haven't got time to think about all these people, because obviously as a parent you don't have time to do anything. So I think just being with Nova and just reminding the reasons that I know that it's a good book, and that it's, you either buy the book or you don't.
That's right. You can choose to consume it or not.
I should have just said that. That's my answer. You can either get the book or you can't. And, yeah. Sorry, I talk a lot, don't I?
No, Logan, I love it.
I think we could go for another hour, but...
You need to know, Logan, we are a very, very long way away over here in Australia, but you have got two allies sitting here, 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's been such a great chat. We've said it numerous times throughout the chat, but you're just an awesome activist for your community. And even if you don't always necessarily want to be that person, I just do think that you're changing the game. You really are. So thank you so much for being patient with people like us who do have 100 questions, but it comes from a place of wanting to learn and also wanting to be inclusive and loving and understanding. So yeah, just thank you so much.
It's okay. It takes conversations like this to have an understanding. If I was to be like, oh, you don't understand me, I'm transgender and you're misgendering me, like, people need to learn, and these conversations are really, really important. I think initially when people see my story or whatever, they're like, this is really weird. But if you to sit down and have a conversation with me and understand my story, we're human beings.
Yeah.
We're human beings. Yeah. So and I really, really appreciate you both. I think you're both so lovely, and I think it's nice to like relate as, parents and stuff. And
And I know Jenna said that we've asked you 100 questions. We're going to make it 101. I've got one more for you. We've referenced the word longing, which is the word you gave us at the start of our chat. Can you give us a word to describe the person that you are now that you are a parent?
I think, you're getting me upset. Use it. What time is it? It's too early in the morning. No. Well, you just complete, just whole, just complete, yeah.
Yeah. It's that missing piece. You found it.
Yeah.
It really is. She's just great.
What's come up for me as you've been talking, and it's funny because there has been a bit of a theme this season, but it does seem as though, you know, despite the odds, your girl was meant to come for you, Logan.
Yeah.
It was happening. Whether
I feel that.
Yeah, it really seems like that. And the other thing I need to say is, as parents, all of us just want the same thing, and that is to be happy and to have happy kids. And we're all the same on that front. And
100%.
the way we do that is to, you know, just
support each
other and
be
fire up the
kind.
love. Fire up the love, because we need a lot more in this world, I think.
We do.
Yeah, it's like when you're walking through the street and you see a parent with a kid and you kind of just give each other a nod and you're like,
the knowing look.
Yep.
Or when there's a child having a meltdown in the supermarket and you're like, oh, I've been there.
Yeah,
I've been there.
Solidarity.
Thank you so much for your time, Logan. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'll send you the book.
Mwah, love it. Thank you so much for joining us on How Motherhood Changed Me. We'd love you to be part of the conversation by connecting with us on social media. And if you enjoyed this episode, please rate, review and subscribe.